Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday afternoon. How's everyone doing? How is it going? How Welcome to the inaugural live stream for the new channel. I really wanted to separate majority of the live streams from what I was doing on the other channel. I wanted it to be kind of dedicated onto its own place where I can have further, bigger discussions. But like I said before on the other stream, that I still want to have a live stream every once in a while on the other channel, on the main channel, Raphael Ludwig, just for bigger announcements, bigger things. But this is more the casual conversations and having more creative discussions, or kind of like the big ideas, just overall in the creative space. And today is definitely one of those discussions that I wanted to have for quite some time. I've talked to a few people about it, and it really stemmed from just me being so busy, but also wanting to produce content and wanting to do stuff. But first, let's say hello to Tom. Hello. Mr. Tom Buck is in the house. Roger, hello. Martin, nice to finally have you at a stream. Hopefully I'm doing it at a nice time. Phil, hello. Jasim, hello. How's it going? You guys are awesome. So here's one thing that I want to do, and this is something that I've been kind of digging into Ecamm Live, because Ecamm has this search function. If you have a question that you want specifically for me to answer, type the letter Q, and that way I can search it in the comments here, and then I can get to all the questions instead of trying to look for them. So yeah, definitely just type Q and then your question. I think that's a good way to do it. Excuse me. Hello. Basha's in the house. Anyways, okay. So today I want to talk about the thing that's been on my mind, and it's when is too much social too much? Like, I understand there's the social dilemma, and this is where it kind of stemmed from, this whole thought about it, that it stemmed from, I watched the social dilemma, but then shortly after I watched a podcast with Maddie and Peter, and Peter brought up this whole thing about he's not compelled to post. He doesn't want to post onto Instagram. He curates, but he doesn't want to post too much. He doesn't want to post to all these other social networks. And it was right in the middle of me being actually quite busy overall, just with work. There's lots of stuff that needed to happen, and then life on top of that. And I had this overwhelming urge to continue making YouTube content, because that's my main focus. But every time I set out to do a piece of content, this thing that's always in the back of my head is, well, you have to post then some kind of supplementary thing onto Instagram in your stories, and then make a shorter version of shorts, and then make a reels onto Instagram. But then you also have to promote it on Twitter. And let's not forget that, you have to push it onto Facebook, put it onto groups, and then LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best for organic reach. And it was just like, it was this overwhelming thing where I just decided to take a moment to step back and not only kind of reduce the amount of social that I was consuming, but also that pressure to have to constantly be producing. So I'm going to kind of go through a few things. But again, if you guys have any questions, make sure that if you have a question, put a Q in front of it. I'm glad you noticed that. Thank you. I like having the LUT, and then between the two cameras, it's a little bit better. This one's a little soft, but it's definitely looking a lot better. I'm feeling that it's nice. So I was having those kind of mini panic attacks as well and because of all the stuff that I needed to do for work, but then all the stuff that I needed to take care of just on a day-to-day basis, it really came down to just what is the thing that is my priority? What is the thing that so I kind of wanted to go through this. Is there such a thing as too much social? Is there that feeling? Do you guys have that feeling of, if you're creating for something, if you're creating a piece of content, do you feel like you have to do this mountain on top of it to be able to curate it? Because when is too much too much? Like, do you have to be on every single platform? Do you have to have a Discord? Do you have to have a Clubhouse? Do you have to be in every Clubhouse meeting? Like, what is the limit for you guys? Thank you. I'm trying to figure this whole streaming thing out and do it live and not in a too curated way, but still it's more of a live presentation, because that's the reason I moved this whole stream onto its own channel, so I can just practice doing this. You've had years and years of talking and having a structure of what you want to say, but doing it live. So I appreciate that. Thank you. So moving on. So yeah, there's how many of you guys have an account with one of these platforms, plus the dozens more that I probably don't even know about? Like, we're on Clubhouse. Tumblr doesn't really qualify, but like, have you guys written any articles on Medium? Do you guys do any contact with people through WeChat, or how about Facebook and Discord and TikTok? Do you guys have a dedicated TikTok account that you repurpose your shorts or your streams? And it's just nuttiness overall. So because I had so much work that came up, that I just had to take care of, I had to make a priority. And it's like, I had to make a decision what was a priority, because you can't do too many different things. And we all hear the same thing, the ABP, the always be posting everywhere constantly, especially Gary Vee. He's the king of that. Like, if you post 10 pieces of content a day, then by the end of the year, you're going to have 1 billion posts, and it doesn't matter how many you have, how many followers you have. Just keep posting and repurpose, and then post on everything else, and then post here, and then post there, and one of those things is going to do something. And it's just that overwhelming feeling. I gotta calm down, because anyways, I've met Gary Vee. I've worked with him. I made him into a hologram. That was fun. So definitely having, more intimate conversations about his workflow, about his idea. He just kind of he sprays and prays. He just always positive. Do as much as you can, and he doesn't like hearing excuses from people that they didn't post anything, or he'll check their account and they haven't posted something in 6 months, but they complain that they haven't gotten enough followers. So it's always interesting where it always creeps up. And I made the choice when I began my main channel as the place that I'm going to focus on. That was my decision. That's my priority on the social space. Everything else will be the second tier or the third tier of responsibility. If I post to it, great. If I don't, no problem. I just have to be consistent in one place. So, and it's this constant consistency that, like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Posting to everything at all times and having multiple channels? Like, should you have a shorts channel? Should you not? Does it matter? And it's just this. What I think it means is consistency is just continue doing something with a focus and keep doing it in a way that you love, because that's what's going to be the long-term thing. And I'm going to get in this a little bit more in a second. So, and on top of that, I'm using these as cue cards to help me remember what I actually want to talk about. So on top of that, it's not only is from a creator standpoint, is there a constant need to be posting and repurposing and, making sure that it's on all these platforms. But then you have to curate the engagement with all those platforms, with all the questions, with all the comments, and you have to make sure that you reply to every comment with at least some kind of acknowledgement that you've seen it. And that's how you grow. And it's this constant engagement. So as soon as you do that on way too many platforms, when is there time to actually create something that's meaningful? What is like you curate these engagements, these conversations, and I'm struggling with it right now because I see your comments coming up right here, right beside me. But like I'm like, do I stay focused or do I acknowledge the comments? And it's this constant battle where yes, you need to engage with the audience that you're having the conversations with. Yes, you need to have that constant engagement. But when you pare down the amount of social networks, social channels that you have to curate, that becomes manageable. And then the faces start becoming familiar. And then the conversations grow beyond the one or two comments. And I find that to be way more rewarding, I think is the best word. So I'm going to check some of the comments now. So Martin says, I don't do too much social, but building up and planning to do more. I'll be selective though. Yeah, that was the whole thing where, having a Twitter account, an Instagram account, it doesn't mean that you don't have to have the same intensity on all those channels. Make sure one is the focus and then the other ones are the supplement to that. But it doesn't mean that you have to post. And one of the things that Peter was saying during the podcast was that he doesn't post that much. He doesn't post on his stories. He doesn't post into his reels. He doesn't use the community tab. He barely even writes a description in his YouTube videos. And he has people helping him make his YouTube videos. So I always find that very interesting. But he even said he's a photographer first, and he just wants a place to post it. He's not posting it to Flickr, to Google Photos, or all these other places. He just chooses that. And he tries to post something that is a little bit off his main focus, but he always ends up deleting it. Anyways, so it is that constant engagement. So Martin continues, I like the small community because everyone is interested to interact and one can actually get an answer from you. Yes. And I'm still at a point where I try to answer every single comment that comes in. So I'm getting to the point where I have a little bit of a backlog, and I'm very thankful for that. But like that stress comes up where I'd rather do that than post onto Instagram or post a story or do all these other things where it's like I find that to be my priority because that's on my main focus, which is YouTube, outside of all the other ones. So I haven't opened up a Discord. Like I did open one, but I never did anything with it. I have a Facebook page, but all I do is just post my video there, and so there's no engagement, and I don't try to push engagement because I think that it would drive me a little bit bonkers. So Tom is saying, I don't think there's a wrong way to do it. Some people focus on one platform while others shotgun blast everything. Both can be successful. Yes, absolutely. There is no right way to do it. That's why I'm asking the question, like, what is too much? Like, too much for me was I had my family, my life, my work, and like my clients. And then I had YouTube as my main thing. Everything below that is the thing that I can pause or come back to at a later date and continue on it. But I want to make sure that everything else was my consistency, where those are my three tiers that are my pillars for what I need to do moving forward. So Jasim says, I see using different platforms as an opportunity to nudge people in case they forgot to subscribe. Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to see how this second channel does organically outside of me, kind of saying on my main channel, and I don't have a big following on Instagram or Twitter. So it's not like those people, and I had that kind of following already before I started the YouTube channel. So that hasn't grown too much outside of the people that were already there. So it's an interesting thing. Yes, it is. And I tried it once. I think I tried it for 2 or 3 videos where I tried to do it for everything. And it was just like I felt like my focus was lacking in thinking about what the next video is, what's going to actually help build the library of videos that I'm trying to make on my channel. Because again, it's like one great video doesn't make a YouTube channel. Lots of good videos make a great YouTube channel. That's kind of where I'm thinking. And I don't necessarily want to build a huge following on Instagram because I don't post there enough. I don't have that kind of engagement. I'd rather focus on YouTube and grow it there. If there is kind of spillover and people join that conversation, are part of it, because maybe I'll start doing more stuff in the future, then we'll see. So Phil says, me as a beginner hearing all about these social apps, I felt guilty only choosing YouTube and Instagram. Even though with only two, I struggle a lot as a beginner. Therefore, I decided to focus on one. Yeah, I think you did a great choice, because if you can master those, then you can start branching out. And I think that's where I kind of focused my attention, where it's like I started to branch out, but I started to stretch myself a little bit too thin with all the other priorities that I had outside of YouTube, where I will keep posting to those other ones, but when there is that flexibility to do so. So continuing here. Yes, and this is kind of goes into that point where focus on everything. When everything is important, then nothing becomes important. And this was one of those things where a company I used to work for in the past, everything was urgent, top priority, must be taken care of right now. And then like 2 minutes later, another email will come in, be like urgent, top priority, must focus on. I'm like, what is the priority? Because everything was a priority. It's like the coffee is out, priority, urgent, must. And it's like, it felt like everything needed to be taken care of at all times. And it didn't help the morale at all when you're trying to focus on something that you think is important, but then someone comes, it's like, this is important. Like, oh, okay. Then you kind of lean over to that. And then they're like, well, why didn't you take care of this thing? It was more important than that thing. It's like, so again, when everything seems important, then nothing becomes important, because there is no priority. There is no leverage between what's actually important. And so your focus will distract you from your distractions. And this is something that I felt really resonated with me when I kind of had that thought, where if you focus on something and you really just focus in, put it on your headphones and you just do that thing, you won't notice your phone vibrate. You won't notice the email that popped in. You won't notice all those distractions. So when you actually focus in on just YouTube and the things that are important to continue doing that, to continue growing that one thing, that's your decision to focus on that. You can't have two major priorities. If you use Instagram and Twitter to promote YouTube, if you use Instagram, Twitter, Discord to continue the same conversation that you're having on YouTube, that you push that makes sense. That works. But trying to have, like for me, like trying to have a dedicated photo only stream on Instagram that is separate from what I'm trying to build on YouTube, my head felt like it was going in two different directions. And there was a photography mind, and then there was the, making content that was more about how to fix it in camera, how to do the tutorials, how to become a better crew of one, how to work with a big crew, how to budget and finance all your stuff, how to make money as a creative, how to spend money as a creative, how to manage money as a creative. Like, those are all things that don't fit neatly into an Instagram photo or a story, or and I didn't want to just repurpose my videos onto Instagram in a where people had to turn their phones, because I know that kind of engagement doesn't work. So your focus, when you focus, it will distract you from your distractions. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. So when there is a push, when there is a need to focus on something, and you need to make sure that you're hitting all those marks, and especially for Tom, for you, where you're at this transition point. In the short term, the intensity skyrockets, and you need to do that. And you're only as good as your intensity in that short term. But that kind of intensity is not sustainable. That's where that burnout can lead to. That's where those panic moments can come. But if you plan it and you go into it knowing that you're going to be intense, and you have it kind of curated out, and you're like, oh, well, I should post there and I should post here, and you build on that momentum, there's going to be a point where either you or that momentum will plateau out, even for a little bit. And that's when the long-term shifts to consistency, goes back to consistency, because you start with consistency. But when there is a surge, when there is a wave that is pushing you forward, you can go intensely, but I don't think that it needs to be to that point where, over the last year, we heard so many people have these burnouts because it was just this constant, not only just consuming, but it was just this creating and then engaging, and then trying to think of the next big idea to be bigger than the last video, then to be bigger than the last position. And that's where this whole too much social really comes to. It's like, if you're consistent and you have these very curated short bursts of intensity, I think that may be the way to do it, to help push you to the next milestone. Because there is no goal. There is no, I made 1 million subscribers. There is none of that. Like, there's a video that I watched where a guy, I can't remember his name. He does short skit comedy. He does short skit comedy, and he reached 1 million subscribers. And he's like, I did it. I reached 1 million subscribers. And he's talking to himself. And his opposite self said, great. Now what? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I never thought of it. I was just so focused on getting here that now I'm here. And the question kind of came out to, like, what is next? Like, there is no goal. Like, there is no number that it will satiate and be like, that's it, I'm done, thank you, and everyone walks away. No, I'm making these videos. I go live on this channel now because I actually enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy the first couple of times that I went live and I didn't feel that it was for me, I probably would have stepped back from it. But I actually do enjoy it because of the conversations that do come up. So let's go back to here. Bam, look at that. Maybe it's a bit too bright. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see what the comments are saying. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to communicate, where I really enjoy making these videos. I really enjoy the focus that comes from YouTube and the engagement that comes from the videos that I post. So I enjoy that. I'm going to turn on some music. Let me know if the music is too loud. So focus on everything. Reminds me of Sean Cannell's from Think Media advice regarding niching down. If you want to reach everybody, you'll end up reaching nobody. Yeah, absolutely. It's the joke is that you're not Nutella. You can't please everybody. So make sure that you're doing something that you actually enjoy doing, and like-minded people that can add to the conversation or help move you and help inspire you to move forward will join that conversation. And those are those magical moments that really make this whole experience just, it's one of the funnest things that is about YouTube. And that's unfortunate. You don't drink and you don't like Nutella. What do you like? What is the thing that you like the most? What is your vice then? Your vice is Coke. That's right. Is Coke Zero? Yeah, that's what you guys talked about. Just make sure if you guys are here, make sure Tom is going live with Heather at the couples table at in 30 minutes. Coke Zero and dark chocolate. That is a great combination. So Tom also says in Greg McKenwan's book, Essentialism, he points out that priority literally means one thing. Yes, you can't have multiple one. Yes. I applaud that because that's 100% true. It's the idea of multitasking. The idea of multitasking, I believe, is a fallacy. It doesn't exist. You can be doing one thing and then quickly try to switch to a second thing and then quickly switch back to that first thing. But science has shown over and over again that the brain takes time to shift gears to focus on something different. It's with it if it's within the same vein, like you're editing one thing, but then you need to do a picture that goes into the edit, then that's still within that one thing. So having one thing, having one focus is a decision that you make, and everything else should support that one decision. And you go hard at that one decision. Does that make sense? That makes sense. I think that makes sense. In these times, being accessible all times distracts us more or lures the focus to be shattered. Yes. That was what was happening with me. I actually filmed three separate YouTube videos, and two of them are still, I haven't edited them because I've had so much work that I've needed to take care of that it has been just the thing that was my priority. And I decided to do that, and I wasn't posting on anything. I wasn't responding to anybody. I would randomly check Instagram and Twitter and just be like, if something caught my eye, I would quickly, and then I would pop off and go back to what I actually needed to. And there's been some late nights where I needed to work on some stuff, and it is this overwhelming urge where I know if I focus on YouTube, I know if I make more videos, I know if I do focus on that, it can be an option for me to go full time with it in the future. Would I want to? Yes. I love this kind of portion of it. I love being able to communicate these kind of ideas and show people the tips and tricks that I've learned along the way, or even learned like, a couple months ago and be like, that was cool. And it's like, want to share those kind of things, or show people the joys of Final Cut over the Premiere and hearing, especially people that have, kind of only heard about Final Cut and then like use it for the first time. Like, why haven't I used this sooner? Why didn't someone tell me that it was this good? It's like, it's a nice place to be. It's a nice place to be. Yes, that is the couples table. Go to, I think it's Heather Just Create. That's the channel that it is on. Just search the couples table. You'll be able to find it. I think it will be easy to find. But yeah, that happens at 4 p.m. Eastern. So, and if you think about it, there you go. Heather Just Create YouTube channel. Make sure you guys go like and subscribe. So being deliberate on what you actually focus on, where you put your energy, that's the key. Bruce Lee, there's a Bruce Lee saying where he says that he's not afraid of the person that has practiced 10,000 kicks. He's afraid of the person who practiced one kick 10,000 times. Because if you do have a focus, you'll get better at that one thing instead of getting marginally better at all these other things. And this is the difference between being a jack of all trades, where you're good at, you're semi-good at YouTube, but you're also semi-good at Instagram. It's about skill stacking. What can you do that will add on top of the skill that you already know that will make the thing that you're working on even better? Skill stacking versus being jack of all trades. Like, you don't want to go learn how to, do woodworking and then be like, great, I learned that skill. Now I'm going to go learn how to, I don't know, skydive. And it's like those two things, they don't complement each other. There's no reason for them to ever interact as one coherent thought, unless there's a way that you can think of. Wooden parachute doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, ramblings of a madman. So, and Apple actually has, if you think about it, Apple actually has kind of mastered their focus. They have such a limited product line. It's definitely bigger now than it was even 10 years, 15 years ago. They have gotten so good at their focus. They dabble in a whole bunch of other things. But if it doesn't connect and make their next thing, or make the things that they already have better, like they introduced the iPhone, which then they introduced the Apple Store and iTunes, because it started with the iPod with music, then they added iTunes, then they added the iPhone, where they keep adding. The iPhone is essentially an iPod, but now it's the wallet. Now it's and they kept stacking onto that one thing. And all their services really hinge on using this. And the Apple Watch is just an iPhone, but smaller on your wrist. Like, it's still the same idea moving forward. And the reason they haven't released any new big, crazy, new products, like a car or something like that. Like, what's the biggest product that they released in the last 5 years that's like a departure from anything they did? The HomePod? No, that's an extension of just listening to music. That's a speaker, right? Like, all their earphones are meant to complement all the stuff that they're doing, and everything is built from this one idea that personal computing should be as small as possible and accessible and frictionless as possible. That's the one core idea that they've been constantly focused on. And they're a master of that. They dabble in experiments, but if it doesn't help their current structure, then it'll never see the light of day. So, like, I love making YouTube videos, and that's why I think this is going to be my focus. I know that I enjoy the video space and then the photo space on top of that as well. I enjoy helping as much as I can people make the process of creating easier. And AI is coming down the pipe, which is going to do those same things. But AI will never be able to, or at least maybe not in our lifetimes, be able to put the camera in the right place, or position the light in the right place, or understand how to, move the camera in that moment. So, like, those are still things that, the AI won't be able to see if there's something in frame that you should probably remove. Maybe one day. Maybe we'll get there one day. But right now, it's like, once it's captured, how do you finesse it to make it better? And that's where the finesse it in post really comes from. And that's where that focus is. Like, when I started this channel, I had that focus of trying to help people capture things better and then make them better in post-production. That was ultimately the whole goal. The tagline didn't really didn't get associated with the channel until like a few months later, because it was always about, the create, repeat, and do it in a repeatable, frictionless way. That's really what I'm trying to achieve with this whole YouTube channel. There is a question. One second. So, if you would go full-time YouTube in the future, would you miss opportunities and challenges with customers? I don't know if I'd ever totally give up working with clients, because YouTube affords the luxury to choose to do those kind of things. And that's by definition, by definition, retirement means not having to work and worry about money, but you're able to continue working if you choose to and on what you want to work towards. So I think there's that portion where it's that money doesn't, it's not about the money that would come for clients. It would be about the opportunities. So I think I would still continue working with clients and customers. I'd be very more selective, but we have to see. We'd have to see how what I'm doing in this space, because I would try to integrate the two. I would try to do those projects and then show how those projects are done. That would be part of my requirement to work on them, where I can do the behind the scenes. I can do the kind of how to that we're doing, so be able to show that kind of stuff freely. That's what I would want. So I would think that YouTube would expand that opportunity, and that was my plan for 2020. But we all know how that kind of went down. So when I do get back on set, when I do get on those projects that I'm able to talk about, I will. That's why I did the whole little behind the scenes with the Heretic Spirits vodka commercial with the pumpkin coming off the label and all that kind of stuff. So those are the kind of things that I want to be able to do. But a lot of the work that I'm doing with clients right now is very NDA. Can't talk about it until it's out in the public. But by the time it's out in the public, can't really talk about the process, and it's not something that makes sense at this time for those things. Does that make sense? I hope so. How long did it take to realize this topic for you, and you're struggling to implement the focus which you choose? Well, I think this topic, like if you're talking about what we're talking about in this stream right now, there's too much social. It's always kind of been there. I've always had the feeling like I want to be able to post all these things, and I want to be able to communicate and reach as many people as possible, because, just like everyone, I feel that my message is good enough to share. And like, I hope more people see it, because that feedback that comes back and be like, yes, that's a good message. Yes. Tell us more about that kind of stuff. So, and it's part of that selling thing where I know that it's needed. You need to be on all these platforms, and that's what everyone says. And it's an interesting dichotomy that's always in my brain. It's like, yes, post it to everywhere, but you need to do all these other things. And then if you miss the moment, like there was an opportunity where one of the videos that I posted all of a sudden started to do really well, much better than all my other videos. And all signs pointed, do another follow-up video as soon as possible to ride that wave. But I was way too busy to even think of an idea to complement that, because I already had other ideas that were planned out, that were in the pipeline, that I kind of thought about. And all of a sudden this video was taking off, the one about the Mac Mini. And I'm like, well, what can I do to complement that? And I started to stress, because I didn't have the time to go and think of something and make something and then follow through on it. I eventually did, but it was a couple weeks later, not as soon as possible, right? Like, so it's this interesting place that I think us as creators kind of fall into, where it's like, if something is working, lean into it. You'll be able to see how far that wave can take you. But if you can't jump on that wave will pass by, and that's okay. So I had to take that deep breath, be okay with it, post it when I can, and be consistent, not intense in the process. So that's kind of where my headspace was when thinking about doing this, doing the follow-up videos. Like, I'm still trying to find time to edit the next couple of videos that I have. But I'm doing these live streams because it's like, once I'm set up, I go live, I don't have to edit it. It's just kind of these thoughts get out there. So let's see. Any other questions? I'm really liking the MV7. I have the Shure SM7B, but I like that this plugs directly into the computer. there's a little EQ here. Let's see if I can. I'm going to share. Bam. So I don't know if you guys can see this. Oh, it's not letting me zoom in. But anyways, I like this little app that Shure has, where you can actually do. So if you want to have the microphone a little bit closer, you can set it up, and it'll automatically dynamically change the setting of the microphone when it's in use with the USB, and you can have a little bit different sound. And then you can go in and even EQ it. So you can do the high pass, you can do the presence boost, or a high pass and presence boost. You can put a limiter on it so you don't kind of. So this is my EQ setup for this microphone, and I'm really liking it because I do like the way it sounds. I'm still trying to figure out. I'm not a mic guy. That's why I found your videos to be so helpful, Tom, because like what do I need to know about microphones? How can I get it to sound better without having too much equipment? And that was really ultimately the thing that I'm still trying to figure out. I don't know much about microphones. Like, a microphone is a microphone. I know a shotgun mic sounds best when you're filming with a camera, and I got that advice from all the sound guys that I've worked with in the past, right? So I'm like, I need to have a mic that I can have with my camera if I need to do any kind of run and gun solo filming stuff. But like when it came down to this, like everyone was saying SM7B, it's like, great, it does sound good. But I'm really liking this. I'm really liking this as a just ease of use. I know it's not the best 100% sounding microphone, and I like that it can be a little bit further away where I can use the simple settings without having trying to figure out limiter and compressor. Like, I'm still not really sure I understand what a limiter and a compressor do that's different than each other. But you know, I have this vague understanding, but again, not a sound guy. I'm a visual person. Audio, I just know when it sounds good. And that's part of the creating in the gap. I know what sounds good, and I'm still trying to figure out the audio portion of my whole YouTube experience. So I need to figure that out. Like I said, I haven't been able to dive into your course yet, Tom. I'm looking forward to it to try to help me understand the mysteries of podcasting, and even if I should do that, and how I can maybe leverage doing live streams that are also podcasts at the same time. So I can do this kind of more, like you said, webinar approach where it's this thought, I talk about it. That's why I'm trying to practice when people do ask a question. It helps move the conversation down a little bit further. Okay, how do I get out of here? So limiter placed a limit on the volume, and the compressor raised the low, reduces the highs, compresses the signal. Yeah, but how do you make it sound good? That's the part that I'm missing. Like, what? I know when something is on screen and the way it's supposed to look, I know how to fix it if it's not looking good. I don't know how to fix it when it doesn't sound good. Like, I hear that it sounds good, and then it feels like I'm doing this, like just blindly moving knobs at that point until it sounds good. I watch his stuff a lot, and a lot of it, the techno babble, I know how to make it sound good when it's in post, but how do I make this sound good? Buy a Rodecaster. Maybe one day. I'm trying to limit the amount of actual gear. But yeah, I just don't retain the information for sound as well as I do for visual stuff. I'll learn it. I'm getting there. Each one is an opportunity to learn and get better. And that's why I got friends like you to help me get there. This one may be a tough one. Do you think if you stopped doing the client work, you'd be able to jump on a wave trend of a video that's exploding more? Perhaps, but I want to make sure that I leverage the consistency more than the intensity. If I did have more time to do more YouTube and focus on that more, I think I would do maybe 2 videos a week. One that's more technical tutorial kind of thing, and then one that's a bit more etherical, I guess, or more cerebral, where it's like, think of it this way. If you had this experience, what would you do there? And like, maybe you should think about these, like more critical thinking kind of videos. That's what I'm trying to balance my YouTube channel as right now. So maybe I would do 2 more. I don't think I would want to do 3 videos a week or anything like that. And then also trying to find waves of things that are current and trending. I don't think that's a good approach either. I'm trying to find stuff that is kind of, it's ageless, right? Like if someone watches a video that I made, that it'll still be relevant 5 years from now. I want to do those kind of timeless videos where it doesn't matter when someone stumbles upon the video and, stumbles like by accident, finds the channel and has a good experience. It's one of those things where it's like, today in the news on, April 15th, those videos, they won't be relevant a year or 2 from now. So yeah, evergreen content. That's the thing. Yeah, it's something that's where it's evergreen, that will have at least a shelf life for 3 to 4 years. Like I know that software does change. I know that camera technology changes. Like anyone that, did EF lenses, no one's going to be really looking for that 5 years from now. What kind of EF lenses, unless it's a vintage thing, but it's not going to be like, this is how you use this vintage lens, and this is what my thoughts are. But like RF lenses, that's going to be like, those are going to be around for the next 10 years. They're not going to change much. There'll be a version 2, but the version 1 will be almost identical to the version 2. So that's kind of where I would focus. I would be consistent in the evergreen content. Every once in a while, do things that are a bit more topical in the space. Like if there's a CES or NAB that kind of comes up and like new tech comes out and we talk about that. But I think that's where the live streams, that's where this space is going to be for that, where it's like, hey, did you hear about that? Like I'll be able to introduce that and have that conversation with you guys instead of making a dedicated video for it. And also like the basics to color grading are always going to be the same. Like skin tones will be skin tones and the process will almost be the same. There may be a new tool, but the concepts and the ideas behind it will be the thing that are going to be those core values, those core fundamentals to creating. And that's kind of the underlying theme of my entire channel, that it doesn't really matter the gear or computer or software that you have. If you know the core fundamentals, you can make any camera a great looking camera just by understanding how to use light, how to edit, how to make it sound good, which I am still learning as well. That's why there isn't too many sound related, audio related things on my channel. For that, head over to Tom's channel. Make sure you subscribe to him. I know that most of you guys in here are, because he's awesome. But yes, so let's see. Yeah. I would evergreen, try to do stuff that will help people even 2 years from now. Like I've had so many videos that I would post them. Like I posted 3 consecutive color grading tutorials, how to color grade C-Log or log in Final Cut, in Premiere, and in DaVinci. And I posted them roughly at the exact same time. And in the first month, maybe like 50, 60 views. It wasn't something that was tracking. They're all at like 10,000 plus views now. And it's actually steamrolling a little bit better, because it doesn't matter if someone's using Premiere, 2022, the workflow is going to be the same. Same thing with DaVinci, same thing with Final Cut. Those avenues of how to do it are still going to be there. Like I know there's more finessed way to do color grading, and I'm actually planning to do follow-up videos because of the push that they're getting now. I want to do follow-up videos, the advanced version of how to color grade, how to use secondary color to isolate the skin tones and, you know, kind of separate the background and the foreground. So it definitely gives me ideas. So just because a video doesn't do well the day you post it, or a month after, or even a year after, if it's evergreen, there will be a point where the algorithm may just pick it up and it'll shoot up. So if every one of your videos is evergreen, you're just expanding that library for people to find you. Because who knows what the taste of thumbnails and stuff like that are like. Just because people are doing thumbnails one way right now, that whole thing that catches people's eye 2 years from now, maybe the thumbnail that you made 2 years ago. It's this weird taste evolution thing that really comes down. That's one of the things I keep saying. I've had the same lens. I've had the same lenses. Lenses are the things that you should really invest in because they will outlast all your camera bodies. That's why I want to make the shift over to RF lenses, because I know most of my cameras moving forward will probably be Canon and will probably be RF mounts moving forward. And I can always use my EF glass on those RF lenses. Multitasking a script while listening to Raphael and editing a video and eating lunch. Dude, focus on my live stream. Priorities. Choose your priorities. So when it comes down to choosing a focus, you need to decide. You need to make sure that choose where that focus goes, because you can have full-time work and focus on that. And then when that work is done, then you can focus on either YouTube, Instagram, or whatever other platform that you want, but have that as your main focus, and everything else builds and supports that. So that's where, and what I mean by that is everything points back to your latest video or to the live stream. And that's what I was doing. Like even the thought of like, oh, I have to remember to post on Twitter to point to the live stream that's coming up. And I have to point on Instagram to make sure that those people understand, like, just to get those little bits and pieces. And because this is a new channel and because this is a live streaming dedicated channel, I'm not expecting that there's going to be a huge amount of subscribers, and it may take time to grow a bigger audience to have. So I wouldn't have to stress about promoting and all these other things to make sure that people remember. But I'm actually very happy that you guys decided to join me today. I'm happy that you found my channel and you guys hang out with me on these random thoughts and live streams. And I just want to say again, thank you for you guys being awesome, for you guys being here. Make sure you guys go check out Heather and Tom's live stream on Heather Just Create on the couples table. They're on right now. And I'm glad that I was able to do this a little bit earlier today and see some faces that are from overseas that were wanting me to do it earlier. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week around the same time, probably 3 p.m. Thursday on this channel. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.